بلاد الشام كوفية عربية بدنا العربية كوفية عربية كوفية عربية
And we're back. You're listening to Special Block the Boat coverage here on KPFA and KPFB in Berkeley, KFCF in Fresno. I'm Dennis Bernstein, and, well, we're going to focus on the role of the unions because clearly union workers need to decide to load or unload that ship, whether they're going to participate, whether they're going to join the boycott, and that battle is ongoing. Well, joining us, let me bring you into this, Steve Zeltzer, longtime labor correspondent for KPFA, deeply engaged in the labor movement. Why don't you talk a little, we're going to bring in Clarence Thomas in one moment, but just set this up in terms of the union struggle and what this looks like to you.
Critical role in the labor movement in the United States, particularly the ILWU, have played a critical role in opposing apartheid. And after a lot of education and organizing, and Clarence can talk about that in the ILWU, there was a boycott in 1984 of South African cargo here in the Ned Lloyd in San Francisco. And it turns out that the Zim line actually at that time was involved in supporting South Africa as an apartheid regime. So there's been an education campaign to make the connection between apartheid South Africa and apartheid Israel. Workers in Israel are second-class citizens if they're not Jewish. And why would we accept support for a regime that discriminates people on the basis of religion or nationality or sex or anything like that? And yet that is what's happening in Israel. So in 2010, there was a picket of about 800 people, and the ILWU members refused to cross at ILWU Local 10 and Local 34. As a result, that was the first labor action in the United States, direct labor action against the regime in Israel. And actually, the consulate came to ILWU and demanded to speak there, and they rejected the government official from Israel. So there's a lot of pressure, and there was a debate at the San Francisco Labor Council a week and a half ago to support Israel, to oppose it, and they accused those who were supporting the Palestinians as being fascistic and anti-Semitic. And this is at the San Francisco Labor Council. But the fact of the matter is, workers in the United States have a reason to support the Palestinian workers. Equal rights, solidarity, and fighting an apartheid regime that terrorized them and uses U.S. bombs, $3.5 billion, to destroy their cities and their communities.
All right, let's bring in Clarence Thomas to the discussion. Clarence, welcome to Flashpoint. Welcome to this. I'm getting busy now, getting old. But welcome. It's good to hear your voice again, Clarence Thomas. Give us your response to this Block the Boat movement. Why are you engaged? Why are you involved? Why are you supporting the workers who have decided to refuse to unload these ships?
Well, first of all, let me say that it's an honor, and I'm proud to be on the line and virtually on the line in terms of this phone call, and today at the port with Monado and Laura and the other activists and members of the Palestinian and Arab community. Let me first of all say that I'm speaking today as a rank and filer. As many of you may be aware, the ILWU is involved in a very protracted and difficult contract negotiations with our employers, the Pacific Maritime Association. The rank and file has not had an opportunity to vote on any resolutions with respect to this action today. But having said that, I will be participating. I know that rank and filers who have been following the organizing and mobilizing for this event, people are actually charting the course of where the Zim vessel is on their cell phones. There's a lot of chatter in the hall about it. People are very informed, and I think that that's the key thing in terms of really building up some long-standing understanding and solidarity support from the workers, is for them to become acquainted with the issues. Let me quickly say that ILW Local 10 has a long and glorious history of respecting community picket lines. Monado referred to the 1930s with regard to Italy. In 1935, 1 year after the general strike in San Francisco, there was a community picket line that was put in place for the purpose of preventing scrap tin, nickel, brass that was destined for Italy after the Italian government had invaded Ethiopia. In the late 1930s, there was a community picket line placed to prevent the loading of scrap iron that was destined for Japan after it invaded Manchuria. We've taken actions to oppose the military regime of Pinochet in 1978. We refused to load military cargo in 1980 that was destined for El Salvador. And so it is in that tradition that I am hopeful that our rank and file will stand up again, once again, to take a firm position against the tyranny, against the oppression, against the mass murder of innocent women and children, attacks on educational facilities, hospitals. This cannot stand. And let me just say personally, as an African-American trade unionist, I'm very touched by what's going on there, because I can say from my own experience of growing up in the black community here in the United States of America that the police department represents an occupying force in the community. They do not protect and serve. As we have witnessed in the events that have recently taken place in Ferguson, Missouri, where an unarmed black teenager was murdered, left in the streets for 4 hours, you wouldn't treat a dog that way. Our young people are being targeted all over the country. And this program that is called Urban Shield, where the Israeli government, the Israeli military has a police department, serves as some kind of ambassador, talking to police departments such as the police department in Boston, police department in Oakland, sharing ideas. And as Laura mentioned earlier, we need to put the spotlight on this, because when you view the events in Ferguson, it reminded you of what was taking place in the Middle East. And I also understand that our brothers and sisters from Gaza have been tweeting people in Ferguson, letting them know how they can provide some type of antidote for the tear gas and other things. So it really does show that the rank and file, the grassroots, the people are making contact through social media to fight together.
And we're listening to Clarence Thomas. He's a rank and file member of ILWU. And also joining us from South Africa is NUMSA, National Union of Metal Workers International Director, Shumbuzo Pakati. And he and his union have taken a very strong position in solidarity with Palestinian workers and the Palestinian movement. Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. First, let me start by saying that our view of the Israeli-Palestinian crisis is that it is not a religious war, and we have a problem in our country and all around the world where people base the issue on the Bible. Our case that we have been trying to put across to our counterparts throughout the world is that what is happening in Israel is similar to what was happening in South Africa. And that is why we have correctly categorized and characterized the Israeli regime as an apartheid state. But having said that, we want to say that we do not condone violence on either side, but what we are saying is let the workers of the world stand together, united, the same way that workers stood against apartheid South Africa by refusing to handle goods destined and coming from South Africa, by engaging in academic boycott, by engaging in economic sanctions, by engaging in arms embargo. And as South African workers, we have taken the lead in the continent to say, first, we have mobilized our academic institutions to boycott and break ties with Israeli academic institutions, and the University of Johannesburg is the first one to have cut those ties. We have in the country mobilized all companies and government departments that have contracts with the Israeli lead and security company G4S, which is supporting and running the Israeli prison, to say we break those contracts with them. We have a company in South Africa called Cape Gate, which is also assisting with the Israel detention prison equipment, security prison, and we are running a campaign locally to say that company must be isolated. But we are calling on the workers of the world to stand united simply on the basis of human solidarity, to say we cannot allow innocent children, innocent women to be slaughtered in broad daylight, and all of us pretend as if nothing is happening. And I am happy that the workers of the United States are joining and leading in this campaign, because we have been labeled sometimes as being anti-U.S. when we say the weapons that are used in the murder of Palestinian people come from the United States. We are happy today to hear that coming from the workers of the United States, to say, let us talk to our governments, let us mobilize our governments to isolate and refuse to be co-opted into mass murder. As South African workers, we are currently mobilizing and pressuring our own government to break ties, diplomatic ties with Israel, to say that we recall our ambassador in Tel Aviv and the ambassador in Pretoria goes back to Israel. We believe that by so doing, as workers and ordinary human beings of the world, will be doing our duty peacefully, to say we cannot allow oppression, we cannot allow brutalization of other human beings to continue right in our journey. In South Africa, we have a very large number of Jewish people who are saying this is not done in our name. Therefore, we want to say that we are ready and willing to join hands with everyone all around the world. We are joining our friends and allies in Europe who are beginning to speak up around the issue, and to say, let us support a just cause, a cause that says no violence has a place in this world. We cannot allow workers, ordinary people, to be killed. But having understood the consequences and the issues that are at the table, to say both Hamas and the Israeli government must negotiate in good faith, and our leaders in South Africa, both former presidents Thabo Mbeki and former president W. de Klerk and current president Jacob Zuma, have said, when called upon to assist, we will share our experiences with the people of Palestine and people of Israel on how to deal and resolve issues where everybody has lost hope. And we are saying there is hope for peace in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where Israel and Palestine will be able to live together side by side as independent and free sovereign states. So the National Union of Metal Workers, we have the standing resolution to support not only the people of Palestine, we are supporting the people of Swaziland who are brutalized by their king. We've supported the people of Zimbabwe. We've supported the people of Western Sahara. So wherever human solidarity is required, the National Union of Metal Workers is on call to work with whosoever is willing to lend a hand, so that together we can create a just order in the world where human beings will live side by side peacefully.
Okay. KPFA in Berkeley, KPFB in Berkeley, KFCF in Fresno.
And you've been listening to Skumbuzo Pakati. He's the director of the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, which is the largest union not only in South Africa but all of Africa, 320,000 members. And they are standing firm against the apartheid Israeli regime and supporting American workers who will be supporting this picket that's happening this afternoon. There's a real connection, and the Zim line, by the way, for our listeners who don't know, was actively involved in supporting the apartheid regime in South Africa. They were shipping equipment, military weapons to the apartheid regime. So there's a long continuity between Zim today and Zim in fighting apartheid at that time.
Manidal, final comment?
Just one, I'm honored to hear brothers from South Africa as we march to end the apartheid in South Africa. They're marching with us. The highest number of protest was in South Africa. We're just encouraging people to be there at 3 p.m. today to protest.
And we'll be streaming that live in the Pillar of Oakland today on KPFA. It'll be on the streaming channel. At KPFA, we're trying to build and develop a multimedia platform so that people can not only listen to us on the air. They can watch us, and they can see the live action in the community, among working people, among community people, their voices, so you can watch them. It's very important to hear that.
And this
see it.
is an incredibly important broadcast. We're going to take a short break, and then the apprentices are going to take over. They're going to tell you a lot more about what's coming up, where the protests are actually happening later, a lot more information for you. And this, by the way, is a broadcast of KPFA Free Speech Radio, and thanks to Franklin and the apprentices, or this would not have happened. Take a short musical break, back with the apprentices. I'm not sure who's taking over, but it's going to be good. Stay with us.
We are apprentices from Group 39, Sueños del Fuego. We are here live at the station at KPFA, and we have been broadcasting since 8:30 this morning. We are also video streaming live at kpfa.org. So we were going to be live remote broadcasting from the action at the port today, and believe you me, that stuff is still in the trunk of the vehicle because the action has been moved to 3 p.m. But that song that you just heard was Heartbeat, and it is a group of youth, Israeli and Palestinian youth, making music, not war, together, and that song was titled Enough. So we are here with three beautiful faces. We are here with three members of the Arab Youth Organizing, and they're so cute and they're so ready. I heard one of them say, "I had coffee, I'm ready." I don't know if I should be scared or if I should be happy. Ay, ay, ay. And I'm here with Nadine, Linda, and Iyad. Let's go ahead and so these are a group of young people who are resisting the Palestinian occupation. Yes, they're in the United States, and we call them a new generation of activists. Let's start with you, Iyad. Welcome. Please introduce yourself. And yeah, go.
Hi, my name's Iyad Abrama. I'm a 19-year-old Palestinian. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I've been pretty active for the past 3 or 4 years with the Arab Youth Organization. And I'm really excited for all the organizing that we've been doing for the past 4 weeks, and it's finally going to pay off this today in the afternoon.
My name is Linda Arakat. I'm a 17-year-old Palestinian. I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I'm about to be a freshman at San Francisco State University.
I'm Nadine Arakat. I am a 16-year-old Palestinian. I was also born and raised in the Bay Area, and I'm about to be a senior in high school.
That's so exciting. So where do you guys live in the Bay Area? And you guys are going to school here in the Bay Area. Do you guys all go to the same school?
No.
Me
I go
and
to City
Linda.
College.
I go to Westmore High School. Me and Linda actually went to high school together last year.
I recently graduated, so.
Congratulations. So you guys have been out here outside at the station for a while waiting to come on the air. I want to start with you, Iyad. Tell me, what's the first thing that you want to say to people listening to us right now?
I want everyone to know that 5 a.m. is no longer happening. So all you complainers out there, you guys can show up at 3 p.m. today at the port. We need as many people as we can get out there to help us block the gates at the port and to make the biggest impact. And it's going to be streaming live on KPFA, so I want everyone to tune in for those that can't come in.
Wonderful. Also, so how does your group recruit new members, so to speak? Like, do people come to you, and do you have, I know that we're going to be hearing some spoken word a little bit later, but what types of art creative outlets are there within your organization?
Well, we have a lot of, we have like fundraisers and kind of like dinners that we have to like get like our Arab youth in the Bay Area to come and like mingle, and then that's kind of how we do our recruiting. But a lot of our youth that have come to the Arab Youth Organization like they got introduced to the whole idea and the whole organization through demonstrations and protests and candlelight vigils. We're always out there, even if we're not organizing it, and we're trying to sign people up and trying to get them to come.
Linda.
So it's really cool because when people see like that youth are organizing the protests and leading the chants and, you know, like on the mic the whole time, a lot of people, they get like really inspired. They're like, oh, like what group are you in? Can I join? And we're like, yeah, totally. Like we're the Arab Youth Organization. Because I mean, back when I was younger, all the protests were usually organized by adults and people older than us. So I was really intimidated personally. So now that the youth see that it's youth organizing the protests and we're the ones leading it, they're not that shy to like come to us and be like, oh, we want to join, like, how can we join? So yeah, like Yad said, we've like found a lot of like demonstrations, and you know, we even like get people we know. We're just like, yeah, come through to the meeting, like it's super chill.
We just like to be really welcoming. Like every time we see teenagers, we're like, oh, have you heard about AO? Like we think you'd fit in. And it's just youth can really connect. So it's really easy to talk to someone your age and like talk to them about how they can join and how it would really like benefit them. Because AO, it's like we welcome everyone with open arms. We're open-minded. So we have so many different kind of people, and we just want to show everyone like we're here, like anyone can join. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm inspired by the three of you. When I was in high school, I didn't have the social consciousness that you all had. I was more into sports and you know the whole other bit of American life. But I'm glad you all are out here, like taking action to change the world for a better. And you had mentioned earlier that like 4 weeks of hard work are paying off. So I'm curious, Iyad, and then Nadine, what work have you all been doing, and what do you all do, and how much stake do you have in this upcoming protest?
Well, we've been doing a lot of outreaching to our Arab communities and our allies, not just Arab specifically, and trying to get the word out there to them, and going all over the city, going all over the Bay Area, flyering people, educating them, going down to the ILWU Union Hall and outreaching to the labor workers that are going to be working at the port. We've also been doing a lot of like workshops on how like trying to because we know that we're blocking the boat, so a lot of us, when we first heard like, oh, we're blocking this boat coming from Israel, we didn't know like what it was going to do. And for the past few weeks, we've been learning a lot on how it's going to impact the economy, and if it doesn't unload, it's damaging to them, and it puts a big hole in their pocket. They lose millions of dollars. And we've also been working with Seattle, San Diego, New York, Liverpool, UK, that are also doing the same action. So we've been learning a lot about that lately.
We've also been going to the office like every day for the past month. Like even though we both have school and work, we really manage to make time and to, like Iyad said, to go out and flyer and outreach. We just really trying to get people to support. So we've been out like every single day, just trying to like blast this event.
We've also learned how the Zim ship, which is the ship that's coming, we've also learned why it's important to block it. The Israeli Zim ship has actually taken a huge part in the colonization of Palestine in 1948. They transferred everything from to Palestine when the occupation started. So that was really important to learn why we're doing this, why this specific ship. So, it was really cool, learning, all this history and how everything ties together with the union workers as well, because this action was called upon by Palestinian workers in Palestine who said, look, you guys need to be in solidarity with us, help us do this, and hit them where it hurts, which is economically. Right. Because, yeah, like Iyad has mentioned, this makes them lose millions of dollars, and that's what you really need to focus on when it comes to apartheid, because we're learning from the teachings of South Africa, because this is what they did in 1984, and we also had this action in 2010. So it's a huge action. It made a huge history, and inshallah, the South African apartheid fell due to boycotting and BDS. So inshallah, the Palestinian apartheid will fall as well.
Yeah, I don't think, or I hope our listeners do recognize that modernly we vote with our dollars, and unfortunately, the way that our political system is set up right now, votes don't have as much impact as your dollar will. So when you're buying a soda stream or when you're supporting what comes off this Zim ship, you are voting for what's going on in Israel. And just hearing you speak, it reminds me that knowledge is power. And I'm glad that AO is educating you all on what's going on in the history of that. Can you talk about what else AO has been teaching you, and how you think that's helped you gain power in this current system?
Well, we've learned a lot about like the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. But what we really have been like focusing on lately is that we have the option to not buy into our occupation, but how like people in the West Bank and people living in Palestine have no choice but to buy into their own occupation. By just, like there's no other like I don't know how to explain it, but they don't have any options other than Israeli products in Palestine. So with the BDS movement, we've learned that this is what we can do of like thousands of miles away as Arab youth by boycotting, by stopping the ship, and by avoiding all these products, by downloading the boycott app and going crazy at Safeway, and you're going shopping, you're scanning every product before you buy it. So, yeah.
So a few years ago, AO had a campaign called the Turoth campaign, and it was a campaign that we did in San Francisco Public School District. We actually sent a survey to all the high schools, and the questions were like, oh, what do you think of when you hear the word Arab? What do you think of when you hear the word Muslim? You know, how do you feel? Have you ever heard like the word Arab in the media? Or like, how do you think Arabs are portrayed? And you know, the outcome that we got from that survey was like just horrible. Like, you know, a majority was like Aladdin, terrorist, Bin Laden, 9/11, and it was all this negativity that all these students like that have said, and like, you know, it's not their fault because they don't like, you know, like Arabs are really underrepresented in history books, especially at school. And so after the Turoth campaign, we decided to do workshops at different high schools and colleges. So we actually have been to UC Santa Cruz, UC Berkeley, City College, San Francisco State, Mission High, and we've done workshops with, you know, people older than us about the Arab Spring, about Palestinian occupation, about like just different things in the Arab world. And I think it was crazy because, I mean, I was 14 at the time, and having like all these college students from UC Santa Cruz who are like super smart, like listen to you and what you have to say was really empowering, because even they don't learn our history.
Right.
Yeah, we were very underrepresented. I mean, and being in history class, you know, we learned about the Holocaust. So I was like, okay, it's 1948 is coming up. We get to talk about Palestine. I get to talk about my family, blah, blah. And, you know, my teacher just completely skipped it up to the 50s. So that just really shows how our history is not represented. And another thing is that, you know, growing up in like grade school, even like, you know, learning about history and like geography, you would look for your country on the map. All the students would be like, oh, that's my country. My parents are from there. But you'd look on the map and you couldn't see your country. So I'd have to go home and be like, Mom, where are we from? Like, where do we come from? And, you know, I had to learn from my parents about like our history and like where we come from. And then that's when I found AO, when AO actually gave me the in-depth analysis of, you know, where we're from, Palestine. And that's when I really started learning the roots of my country. And it's sad how the public school has failed me to really teach about my people. You know, you have Black History Month, you learn about, well, you barely learn about Latino history and the farmers movement. Yeah. But thing is, yeah, I didn't understand how all these other cultures are being represented, but Palestinian wasn't. And that's why I feel it's really important that we represent who we are. And I think wearing my kufiya everywhere and like mentioning to everyone that I'm Palestinian is so important, because as the youth, you know, they're trying to erase our history. You know, they're trying to make it so that people our age forget that where we're from, and they don't want us to know where we're from. But, you know, we'll continue to hold that, and we will continue to let people know where we're from and make sure that our history is not forgotten and erased. And that's the important thing that AO strives for.
Linda, thank you. That's very well said. And actually, you do a bit of spoken word that we're going to be listening to. And really, war is so awful that it's so important that as youth, because you know, as a youth, man, I didn't know where I was coming from, where I was going. Didn't even know if I was too proud of my culture. I didn't really know, right? It's really important to know our culture, whatever it is, our roots, whatever we choose to identify as, so that you know, hopefully it'll prevent us from being jaded, but also to find a connection and anchor us so that it can lead us to ideally a better place, right? At the very least, basic civil rights for everyone, and ultimately the end goal of peace. Linda, I want to ask if you would. Before we go to your spoken word piece, Iyad, can you tell me about? Iyad, can you tell me about that app that you have that you were mentioning?
So it's called the Boycott app. You can download it onto your phone, and you would have to join. You have to join a specific campaign, and there's a free, like the Boycott for Palestine campaign. And once you join that campaign, you can use your phone to scan the barcodes of any product, and it'll tell you whether to avoid that product or not because of their ties to the Israeli government and the apartheid state.
Okay, great. Linda, could you go ahead and share a piece with us? This is Linda, and you are from the from Arab Youth Organizing.
Yeah, so I wrote this piece for actually a school assembly that we had about bullying, and I wanted to bring politics into it because I feel like, you know, we're being bullied by the media, and we're being bullied by the system as youth, by cops and, you know, the government and all that. So, you know, I wrote this for school. So here it goes. You call me a terrorist, occupiers of my home and the oppressors of my blood, imprinting your footprints on the sand and quenching your thirst with our blood and our tears. This is occupation. Walk around with AKs and claim it's for your protection, yet you're a criminal of gentrification, the worst form of colonization. This is occupation. The tears of the mothers and the silent screams of fathers as you bulldoze their homes, children dying from your drones claim terrorism when they resist with stones. This is occupation. Refugees wonder where they're supposed to be. Their villages are destroyed and not what they used to be. No more olive trees and no more Dead Sea. This is occupation. The frustration while trying to get the world to see that their suffering is more important than government shutdowns in the Miley Cyrus CD. The media hiding the truth of drones with the advertising of iPhones. This is occupation. Kids in Gaza trapped in borders like a jail cell. Their lives are a never-ending stairwell of bombs and funerals. This is occupation. Soldiers roam around Iraq in American flag-stitched camouflage uniforms with their guns, their white skin being burned by the desert sun, killing civilians for fun and shooting them as they run. This is occupation. Faces of dead children in Afghanistan being pushed under your patriotic rug. You don't see that this genocide has formed itself into a fake prophecy justified with the promise of democracy. There is no more humanity, profiling us because of our ethnicities and being randomly selected at the airport because of my last name, as if I am more likely to hijack a plane. I'm sick of your political games. Black men being shot at on BART trains, Latino kids accused of being in gangs, youth being killed by fake cops. This is occupation. The screams of Trayvon Martin and Oscar Grant still haunt me because I have to live through this white supremacy and racist society, sovereignty of the rich and having pigs as our authority. This is occupation. Demolitions of our voices as if our tongues have sinned. You tried to keep me quiet, but my body rose like resurrection. You call me foolish for screaming at the demonstrations. Well, I will scream until Palestine is free. I will scream until every soldier is out of the Middle East. I will scream until Syria is free. I will scream until we learn to break our chains. I will scream until I see change. I will scream until Oscar Grant can hear me. I will scream until education is more funded than war. I will scream until we have a better future for the youth. I will scream until we're all free. This is occupation and this is my struggle.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you just heard Linda from AYO, Arab Youth Organizing. She's also in studio with Nadine and Iyad, also from Arab Youth Organizing. We'd like to thank you all very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
For all those on the airwaves who were inspired by you and want to get involved, or maybe a youth out there wants to know their history, Nadine, can you let us know how we can reach you and get in contact with AYO?
So we have a website, araborganizing.org, and we're always out at events. Like, we always have our shirts that say BDS, or we have our AO shirts. Like, come up to us. Like, if you even see us in the streets, like, don't be scared to come to us. Like, like I said earlier, we're really welcoming. We want people to join. Like, we want to have more people, so we want to see people come out and support. And on Facebook, you could just look up Arab Youth Organizing, AYO. So, yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at the Block the Boat. When is that going to happen, Aya?
At 3 p.m., everyone.
Today.
Today at the Port of Oakland, and we're going to be having buses transferring people from West Oakland BART to the port. So
right on.
Try to make it out there a little bit early.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, like I said again, this was truly a pleasure. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to transition over to a music break. We have Raise Your Head by Mohammed Asaf.
We're all here with you today. We're here live at the station at KPFA 94.1 Berkeley. My name is Sarah Blanco. I am one of your hosts. I am here along with Junior Jackson. Say hi, Junior.
Hola.
I really thought he was going to say hi, Junior. So we are here with a great voice. I'm really excited to be here with her today. Her name is Samantha Liapas, and she's here as a representative voice for the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. She's also a organizer for them, also known as IJAN. Welcome, Samantha. Thank you very much for being here. It's a very important voice to be listening, to be hearing from today.
Thanks for having me here. I'm happy to represent IJAN and talk about the issues today.
And do start off by telling us about IJAN.
IJAN is the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. We're an international network. We actually have chapters in the United States, Canada, the UK, Europe, Israel, India, Morocco, Mexico, and Argentina. We're a growing voice of anti-Zionist Jews. We're committed to the liberation of the Palestinian people and land. We're wholeheartedly committed to the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the end of Israeli colonization of historic Palestine, and an end to U.S. economic and military aid.
And go ahead.
Yeah, we're part of a growing, large international voice that challenges Zionism in its claim to really speak on behalf of Jews worldwide. Israel and the Zionist ideology upon which it was built don't speak for us, and it doesn't reflect our vision of a just and safe world. And we really believe that the movement against Zionist apartheid needs to be as uncompromising as it was the movement against South African apartheid. Anti-Zionism is part not only of the movement against racism, but also the movement against war. And we're convinced that we speak to a large and great, unexpressed, and really censored sentiment of support for this perspective,
Right.
including among Jewish people.
And you've been out here this morning for quite a while, and I really do appreciate you being here. So what in particular do you do there? I know that you're a spokesperson, and what types of actions have you been a part of? You can say, more recently, but also historically as well, you and IJAN.
IJAN has a number of campaigns, both in the countries where there are affiliate networks and worldwide. We're really trying to grow the expressed voice of Jews against Zionism. For example, just this last month, there was a pro-Israel event at the same time as the big march organized by Arab Resource and Organizing Center in San Francisco, and members of IJAN disrupted that pro-Israel event. It was a pretty atrocious event held in a temple, which was particularly offensive, but it featured the Israeli consul general, and there was a send-off for young people going off to join the IDF, Bay Area young people, and they spent the whole time just sort of justifying the atrocities and the bombing in Gaza, and we disrupted, really didn't let him speak or others speak. There was a somewhat violent backlash from participants there against us, but we felt that it was very important that we disrupt, in particular, the media frame of this being a Jews versus Arabs issue by asserting a Jewish voice in strong opposition to the attacks and the siege on Gaza and the occupation of Palestine.
Yeah, I think you hit on a very important point that this is not one group of people versus another group of people. This is a human issue, and this is about human lives. And here at KPFA, being founded on pacifist issues, we also believe that there shouldn't be war, and there shouldn't be this these atrocities going on. Yeah, thank you and your organization for being that person who would step up and voice their opinions, even though other people in your subset of society may look down upon you for doing so.
Yeah, as far as we see it, we really have no choice. I mean, the way that this issue is being framed, it's the atrocities against Palestine historically and currently are being committed in our name, and our own histories of oppression are being distorted and manipulated to justify these acts, and that's particularly reprehensible and unacceptable, and really obligates us as Jews to stand up against it. I mean, as people in the United States, every one of us are complicit in that our tax dollars are giving, $3 billion in aid every year and much more in, contracts and political cover. So we're all obligated to stand up against what is going on and, stop U.S. aid to Israel and stop, the U.S. role in what's going on. And as Jews in the United States, we're doubly committed to making sure that these things are not happening in our name.
Right on. We also have Mohammed from Critical Resistance in studio with us. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing right.
So would you like to give us a synopsis of Critical Resistance, the work you're doing, and the position your organization is taking upon this attack on Gaza and Palestinians?
Yeah, so Critical Resistance is a national organization that is dedicated to the abolition of the prison industrial complex, both here in the United States and worldwide. And we are engaged in a number of community projects that seek to resist expansion, jail expansion, prison expansion, and overall expansion of the prison industrial complex. We're also engaged in a lot of different projects and initiatives that stress the affirmative aspects of resistance, where we seek to build the things that we want to see in our communities that don't rely on police, that don't rely on the state. So those types of things.
Yeah, we were happy that you decided to come in today because we personally feel like these violent actions aren't isolated. They're not in silos. Like, all this stuff is interconnected. There's an underlying wave of terror and fear being perpetrated by the powers that be, and whether that is manifest in bombing of Gaza, in shooting of young black youth, we're seeing this stuff in Ferguson, we're seeing this in Dublin. The state seems to be doubling down on its efforts to control the population by fear and violence, and your organization is doing quite a bit to put an end to that.
Yeah, so I mean, just during this latest Israeli aggression against the people of Gaza, there have been 5 black men in the United States who have been murdered, all unarmed, by local police departments. You have Eric Gardner, John Crawford, Jacori Calhoun here in Oakland, who was shot in the head, unarmed, was not a threat. You have, of course, Michael Brown, that led to the uprisings in Ferguson, and more recently, Izell Ford in LA, who was shot while laying down by police. And the connections they've always been there, and they're becoming much more apparent. What we've seen is that right now in the United States, we have a hyper-militarization of the police, and this is directly tied to the issues, the America's interests and imperialism in the Middle East, because what has happened as the United States government has, in some form or another, on some level, scaled back its war on terror in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan, they found themselves with a surplus of all this war machinery and weaponry. And under the DoD, Department of Defense Program 1033, that basically just gives these surplus weapons to local police departments across the country. So we see direct relationship between the war on terror and then the war on black and brown communities in the United States by local police. And what's been amazing is that on the bright side of things is that we are seeing really direct solidarity between the struggles that are happening in Ferguson and the struggles of the people of Gaza. We've seen when the police were cracking down in a warlike fashion on the protesters in Ferguson. They were using tear gas, and you had Palestinians in Gaza that were tweeting to them, telling them how to deal with tear gas, telling them what to do, what not to do. Yeah, so that was really, really amazing. You had people, you know, taking pictures of themselves with signs in Gaza saying solidarity with the people of Ferguson. We are with you. We know what it is like to be killed and targeted just for our race and ethnicity. So we stand in solidarity with you. You have people in Ferguson that are taking to the streets and are raising Palestinian flags and are saying, Palestine was with us, so we are in support of them. So it's a really beautiful thing that in light of all this horrific violence that's committed on black and brown communities, on the people of the Middle East, the people of Palestine, that what comes out of that is this amazing, this really heartwarming solidarity.
I just want to co-sign on what was just said about the notion of a war industry and how the United States and Israel are really partners in that. Part of what IJAN does is put out a lot of educational materials trying to re-educate Jews and others about the role of Israel historically. And the truth is that non-trivial portion of the Israeli GNP comes from this international war industry. I mean, from historically in South Africa, South America, and all over the world, Israel, often in partnership with the United States, has undermined popular movements by supplying weapons, technology, and training to repressive governments. And there's, a lot of facts out there about this role that they play.
Thank you. And I want to remind everybody that we are here live at the station at KPFA. And we are here with Samantha from the International Voice. She's a representative for the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. And we are also here with a director from Critical Resistance, and it's so lovely to have you both here. Now, as you sit here in the room together and looking at each other, what can KPFA do to help organizations like you, or what can you do, the two of you together? Is there an action plan with step one that we can take right now, either that KPFA can take or that our listeners can take to help, let's say, both of your organizations combined? Because we all have one end goal, right?
I guess just getting the word out is about these actions, and about the righteousness of these actions is a big part, and really being a voice to break the dominant, media frame, and really the lie of this being a Jews against Arabs issue, or even that this is just, some long historical fight between two equal partners. I mean, this is, there are war crimes being committed against the people who have zero defense. There's bombing of UN shelters and hospitals, and children and civilians are the majority of those being killed. And this is not a war. These are atrocities being committed against the people who have no defense. They're basically living in an open-air prison. So just really helping the public to understand what's truly going on the ground, what the U.S. interests and role in it is, and what we can do, in terms of demanding an end to U.S. aid to Israel, and participating in these actions to end the siege on Gaza and the bombing of Gaza. And do you want to go on?
Yeah, I mean, KPFA has done an excellent job, not just with this specific action, the plan to protest the port, and helping us get the word out, bringing on people to interview and talk about what's happening in Gaza and what we'd like to see at the port. And KPFA has always been a strong ally of critical resistance, and it's really important, I think, given this latest aggression on Palestinians by the Israeli state. What always happens whenever they do this, whenever there's an escalation, I mean also when there's not an escalation, but especially when there's an escalation, is that you have this insane kind of attempt by the Israeli propaganda through the media and American propaganda through the media to completely dehumanize the Palestinian side. We've seen this with like mainstream news, like the New York Times, CNN, Fox News, anything mainstream, like even as far as the Guardian and the Huffington Post have printed things that basically dehumanize, don't show the Palestinian perspective, and just show them either as like helpless victims or as responsible somehow for their own deaths. So the importance of having a community-based media outlet and radio station like KPFA is to be able to actually get what's happening on the ground out there. I haven't seen anywhere that we have people in Gaza calling in and being able to speak as much as has happened in KPFA, at least in the United States or the Bay Area. So I think that that's really important, and we'll continue to work with you in Critical Resistance, and we'll definitely have people on to come talk about the projects that we're currently working on.
Thank you very much. That was Mohammed Sheikh, the Media and Communications Director from Critical Resistance, an organization dedicated to the abolition of the prison industrial complex around the world. And thank you as well, Samantha Liapas, for being here as the voice, as a Jewish voice, a voice for the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. Thank you both very much, because truly free speech is at the heart of getting what our end goal is, peace, and then everything that comes in between, beginning with basic civil rights. Thank you very much. We're going to have another beautiful music break, all of the music provided mainly from Frank. And stay with us. We're here live video streaming at KPFA, and we will have all of our broadcast on our webpage at kpfaapprentice.org as well. Thank you both.
First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you.
I heard them say the revolution won't be eat and the people will eat that.
Hello. We are here at the station. My name is Sarah Blanco, and I am here with Junior Jackson as your co-host, but I'm actually sitting at the table here with our executive producer, Frank Sterling, who got this whole ball rolling, and it kept rolling, and we didn't let anything get underneath that and move it out of the way, that's for sure. And our senior producer was Vilma V. Thank you very much for lining up these, making sure that everything was going smoothly, lining up these guests. Vilma, I need a one-liner. Here you go, she says. She was amazing. And so this video broadcast will end at 11 a.m., but pick up again at 3 p.m., and you know why. So we would like to first of all thank all of those in the community who came out this morning to the Port of Oakland to block the boat. Solidarity is a beautiful sight to behold. It's a really important thing because regardless, free speech news needed to be there to broadcast it. We'd also like to thank our host for the first half of this very special broadcast, Dennis Bernstein. As his guest, we'd like to thank as well Iyad, Reem Asil, Laura Kishawi, Steve Zeltzer, Clarence Thomas, Manadel Herzala, Kumbuzu Fukati, Dr. Mona El-Farah, who did 2 interviews for us because she was amazing. Our other caller from Gaza, much respect. Plus Nadine, Linda, and Iyad from Arab Youth Organizing. Samantha Liapas, she was our Jewish voice today. And then Mohammed Sheikh from Critical Resistance. I want to thank all of the apprentices and everybody who, wanted to be here and couldn't, but were here in so many different ways. But also we want to thank the First Voice Apprenticeship Program for hooking it up with some amazing people in the house. Eve for being here, Charles for getting here at 5 a.m. regardless, because you were presentes. And then Zakia, Eve, if I didn't already say, we want to thank the news department for collaborating with us. We need to do more of that. Workers at the port, can't speak enough. Q, you know that's more than just a letter. We want to thank the KPFA community, Lucrecia at the board putting it all
Thank you,
together. If it wasn't
Lucrecia.
for Lucrecia and Vilma and Jody Sokolauer,
And,
wow, those three people hooking it up. Yes, Frank,
Let's not
over to
forget
you.
our video streaming expert here, John Paroles.
Are you kidding? Can't forget.
brightpathvideo. Thank you for getting that on. And I just want to remind everybody that the video stream will pick up again at 3 at kpfa.org. And the demonstrators will be gathering again at West Oakland Bard at 3 o'clock. I will be there. I don't know if everybody else will be, but I will be there. And just I'd like to thank KPFA for having the goal
Truly.
to do this today. And whether we were at the port broadcasting live or we're here broadcasting live, KPFA did it. And probably KPFA is the only one that did it this way and did it this big and was ready to do it. So we're going to try to get some call-in updates during the 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock hour. We're going to talk to people that are at the controls and hosting. We'll see what happens. And just a big thank you to everyone sitting at this table and everyone that came out today and everyone that helped out, because it was really a collaborative effort, and I couldn't have done it without you, and KPFA couldn't have done it without us. And I think it was a really great connection with the activist community and KPFA, which is what I'm going to be fighting for. And I think a lot of KPFA really wants that tighter connection, and I think today showed what we could do. And I think I will just send it back to Lucrecia. We got 1 minute, she's saying, and just thank you everybody that helped participate and helped make this. Thank you again to John.
And I hope we didn't leave anybody out. That's really important.
Yeah, and if there's a voice or something that you heard, didn't like, reach out back to us. We
Great.
want feedback. This is your community radio station. This is what community broadcast looks like for us at the Apprentice program, and we hope it means something to you. And if it does, let the station know, let people know. This is Community Radio 94.1 KPFA.
And
all of us.
If you did enjoy this, you can send a letter to Q at KPFA and tell him thank you.
Thank him.
You can also find more information about Block the Boat on Facebook if that tickles your fancy.
Oh, it has really been a pleasure to be here and watching everyone, even some people who couldn't make it for various reasons or people who are showing up for ultimate support.
Thanks, Felicia.
Thank you, Felicia. The video broadcasting has been an amazing experience. I just wish everyone could have been here to see the buzz in the house. An amazing feeling. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank my fellow apprentices, Sueños del Fuego. Thank
Sueños
you.
in the house
Sueños.
and Group 40.
We'll wrap it up. Thank you very much.